How far down the path of madness are you willing to go to bring your creation to life? Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to the show. It's Tuesday, and that means we're going to roll some dice. Yes, folks, it's Tabletop Tuesday, the show where I grab a game, book, or what have you and give it a spotlight. Now, it's that spooky time of year, and we are embracing it, delving back into the demi-plane of terror. We're going to fan away the mists and give a look at one of the many guides written by the legendary Dr. Rudolf van Richten. Yes, this is Van Richten's Guide to the Created. Released back in January 1994, the book was, as best as I can determine, third in the original run of Van Richten's Guides to various creatures one might run afoul of in Ravenloft. The first three were essentially covering the classic Hollywood monsters. We had vampires to start things off, then werebeasts, and finally this here, the Guide to the Created. Oh, this was all compiled eventually in Van Richten's Monster Hunter Compendium 1, if you don't want to buy all three individually. Each of these were about 90 some pages, this one clocking in at 98, and as each volume focused on a specific monster type, this time we got golems. Yes, the AD&D equivalent of Frankenstein's monster. Written by Tu Win Woodruff, hope I pronounced that right, with disturbing cover art by Robbie Rappel and interiors by the prolific Stephen Fabian, it was edited by a familiar face, Andrea Hayday, still steering the Ravenloft ship, if only in editorial capacity this time. You might recall her from the box set I reviewed last week. Now, let's dive into what this book is and is not. Firstly, this book is an astoundingly detailed dive into the creation of golems within Ravenloft, although the information here is so nuanced and thorough, feel free to adapt it for anywhere. It's not intrinsically tied to the demiplane of dread, so that's a huge bonus. What it isn't, however, is twofold. It's not a book for players. Don't let your PCs read this. They'll get too much info, and things won't be scary or mysterious after this. Or you'll have to go in and change things to keep them guessing. But also, this thing ain't for the faint of heart. It is gross, dude. And I mean that in the most complimentary Gen X way possible. Chapter 1 starts us off with the assembly of a created being. For about 7 pages, we dive into the nitty gritty of acquiring the materials you'll need, including estimated costs and such, along with how to store them and what happens if you screw up at any point in this process. Chapter 2 dives into the actual process of animation. It covers the physical traits of the created once animated, like strength, dex, and con, along with whatever intellect the being might have and any telepathic abilities. Oh, yes, telepathic Frankenstein's monsters. I didn't stutter. Let that sink in. We also reap a deep discussion of lifespan, respiration concerns, if any, along with nutritional requirements, because bringing up baby ain't cheap. Next, we cover what kind of defenses and resistances the golem might have, such as poison resistance and so on. These are the bare bones they kept alive with the 5e PC lineage, if I'm not mistaken. There's also a section on reassembly if your golem finds itself in pieces, however that might happen. Finally, there's a big section on extraordinary abilities, like golems that can animate the dead, cause despair and horror, disease you with a touch, energy drain, spell-like abilities, and even stench. I mean, you gotta imagine something reassembled from rotten parts is gonna be a touch ripe. Chapter 4 does a brief little 7-page dive into the various materials used, like bone, clay, glass, metal, stone, straw, and wood. That is, if you make something besides the presented flesh golem. And you might think, oh, I'll use some other material than flesh, and it won't be as grody or horrifying. No, it's Ravenloft. Everything is horrifying. Anywho. Chapter 5 briefly covers magic use with golems, specifically wizard and priest spells along with inborn magical powers, when a huge, nearly invincible walking tank just isn't enough. If Chapter 2 covered the physical aspects of a golem, Chapter 6 is its mirror covering the mental. We dive into detailed stages of mental development. This is a nice roadmap if a DM wanted to construct a diary for the PCs to uncover and read. That's the nice version. The not so nice version is having the PCs witness these stages somehow, so they really get a taste of what a golem is and how it thinks. Spoiler alert, it's disturbing. Finally, Chapter 7 delves into methods for PCs to rediscover and prepare to hunt down a golem. Like the entire book, this is nuanced and distressing, especially if your PCs have uncovered the history and psychology of the poor creature. And this is a wonderful opportunity for RP. Diving this deeply into the preparations for the Gollum hunt, the specific methods by which the PCs might take it out, gives them not only time to think about the creature they're going out to end, but it also paints enough detail that the creature becomes real to them. Don't be surprised if discussions start around the table about capture and methods for redemption, which is another thing to keep in mind early on in the campaign. Be mindful of how you paint the golem. If it's intended to be pure evil with a remorseless righteous hunt later, dive hard into the horror of the crimes. But if the creature is intended to be sympathetic, make sure you zero in on the more relatable aspects of the creature, driving home to the PCs that this thing is a being. It might have a favorite toy. It might leave messages asking why people hate it and try to harm it. You might have your PCs uncover horrible facts about its creator. Just some thoughts. Our old buddy Rick Swan reviewed the guide in Dragon Magazine number 207 in July of '94. He also reviewed the adventure Adam's Wrath alongside it. This time, old Rick was full of glowing praise, commenting both books were first rate with lurid detail recounted in gleeful detail. And I'd say that's pretty spot on. While not available on Amazon, I found numerous copies on eBay, most going for about 25 bucks or so. Except for that lunatic trying to get close to 100 for his. Dude, what the hell? Further, I have on good authority, it may be available on the high seas, if you know what I mean. And as the book has no accessories, a printout is just as good as anything if all you want is the information. FYI. Now, is it any good? Oh Lord, yes. What and who this supplement is aimed at is a DM that wants to really dive into the details with an ongoing campaign centered around a golem or golems. The book itself reads very much like a piece of fiction. You're going to find yourself losing hours just sitting there devouring the minutiae presented in. Like Rick Swan said, lurid detail. This is all dressing to get you in the mood. Now, what you do with that mood is up to you. Like I said, write it all down in a journal for the PCs to find. Feature vignettes for your PCs to stumble across or bear witness to. The possibilities are limited only by your own creativity. And that's what this supplement is. It's a lightning jolt to your creative centers. If you're wanting to present a really disturbing and nuanced Gollum-centric campaign for your PCs, it bolsters that seed of an idea in every conceivable way, taking what could be a 30-minute encounter and making it a week-long campaign. So there you have it, folks. Van Richten's Guide to the Creative. Not for everyone, but for folks who want to dive into this type of story. Absolutely essential. That's all we got for today. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate each and every one of y'all to stop by, especially as the algorithm seems to be burying my videos, but I digress. Like a friend from Shaolin once told me, shamble on, zombie, shamble on. Now, this old zombie's going to pass the turn. Get on out there, y'all. Roll some dice of your own, gather around the table, and make those memories. While you're at it, maybe pop in a scary movie, watch a creepy old cartoon, read you a horror comic, drink a little water, get some exercise. You want to be hydrated and limber for fighting the walking dead. And I'll see you all in the next one, folks. Have a good one.